Good morning. My name is Susan Johnson. I am the membership secretary for the International Wizard of Oz Club. This morning, I would like to bring you another story from the 2013 issue of Oziana. This story was written by Jared Davis and illustrated by Sam Milazzo. Jared Davis lives in Illinois, but he is most commonly seen at the Western Convention of the club, which was once called the Winky Convention because the Winkies live in the western part of the Land of Oz. For years, the Winky Convention was held at Asilomar, California, on the beautiful Monterey Peninsula. When Asilomar became unavailable to the club some years ago, the convention was rebranded as OzCon International, and it was moved to San Diego, California. It was held in San Diego for 2 years, and then in Portland, Oregon for 2 years. In Portland, Oregon, Jared Davis actually chaired the convention the second year that it was held there. Jared has written stories for Oziana for about the last 10 years. Sam Milazzo lives in Australia and has been illustrating stories probably for the last decade also. He has charming illustrations, and the name of this story is The Way of the Lion. It is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, as you will see as we go through the story. So thank you for joining us this morning, and I will be reading The Way of the Lion by Jared Davis, illustrated by Sam Milazzo. There was once a little lion cub who lived with his mother in the Quadling Forest of Oz. The first thing the little cub had ever known was the comforting warmth of his mother as he slept near to her and suckled. When his eyes had opened, his first sight was his mother's kind face as she licked the dust off of him. He could also see the tall old trees and smell the faint, musty scent of the forest. It was cozy, quiet, and it was home. In the Land of Oz, lions live differently than in the great outside world. As there are very few open plains in the Land of Oz, lions live in forests, for the plains that do exist are the homes of men. And men fear such animals as lions. However, forests have few places for lions to run and catch their prey. When the fairy queen Lurline turned Oz into a fairyland, she made sure that animals of all types could easily live together. Though this did not happen very often. Animals of certain types preferred to live in groups or alone, and such was the case of the little lion and his mother. Young cubs were very delicate and could be seriously harmed quite easily. It was not long before the cub's mother began to teach him how to speak. She called him Baby, and he took this to be his name. I am Baby, he said slowly. Your name is Baby right now, replied his mother, but when you have grown a bit stronger, I will take you to your father, and he will teach you how to be a lion. Then you will have a new name of your own. What will Father teach me? He will show you how to care for yourself and have courage. What is courage? There are many dangerous things in the world, his mother explained. These things will scare you unless you have courage. I will be scared until I have courage, the little cub asked, trying to understand what his mother had said. Your father will explain it better than I can, she said. Baby grew stronger in a few months, and soon he grew from being a suckling to needing meat for his meals. Soon after this, his mother said he was ready to meet his father. The little cub walked behind his mother in excitement as they walked through the forest. The forest floor being moist under Baby's feet. They passed other animals such as tigers, bears, foxes, elephants, and unicorns. These looked kindly at Baby as he walked by, for all animals in Oz knew they were worthy of each other's respect. Finally, Baby's mother led him to a cozy den where she curled up and laid down. The little cub nestled with her and fell asleep. He was awakened by a warm and unfamiliar scent. Baby started and stared into a large lion's stern but caring eyes. Although he had never seen this lion before, he somehow knew this was his father. As Baby stood up, the large lion put a paw on his back. Baby stared at him curiously, but his back did not sag an inch. He is strong, Baby's father said, smiling at the mother. Tomorrow, I will begin teaching him our ways. Baby lion spent peacefully between his two parents that night. His father woke him early in the morning. Silently, he walked to the forest, and Baby followed. In this land of Oz, Father Lion said in a solemn, low tone, we are respectful of life. Every creature has a right to live and to be treated as a fellow being. A lion keeps his pride by respecting other animals and not by overpowering them with fear. Life is a precious gift, and as such, we must be careful to respect that gift in all creatures, from the tiniest insect to the largest elephant. Even the lives of the cruel and fierce Kalidas should be honored. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Baby nodded his little head. The fairy queen Lurleen made provision for us when she made this land of fairyland. Father Lion continued. Thus, with a little searching, food is easily available to us. Father Lion led Baby to a grassy patch covered with large mushroom-like plants. Using his teeth, he tore the top off of one. With his claws, he pulled out a large piece of raw meat. We will take this to your mother, he explained. Baby reached into the plant and pulled out 2 more pieces. For you and for me, the little lion said. Father nodded. You are learning quickly, my little son. I will carry our pieces. You must carry your mother's piece to her. Why did we only use one plant? Asked Baby as they journeyed back to his mother. It is from our respect for life, was a solemn reply. Food sustains life, and if we were greedy and used all the plants, there would be none for the other animals. Such behavior is unworthy of a lion. The meat plants blossom once a week, so if all were used quickly and greedily, there would not be enough to go around, and some would starve. And when a carnivorous beast is hungry and cannot get food, it may pose a threat to the other animals. Not only is taking only our share respectful, it keeps everyone safe. By this time, they had returned to the little dwelling where Baby's mother was waiting for them. Baby brought her the meat and they all breakfasted. The best meal I have ever eaten, Mother Lion continued, smiling at her son. Baby had many questions for his father that day. What did animals do for food before Oz was made into a fairyland? Those were dark days, was the reply. Animals were wild and cared little for others. We lions had to keep in groups we called prides, and the females did the hunting. And what was hunting? We would find animals that were weaker than we were and kill them and eat their flesh. Father Lion said, his head bowed in shame. Baby couldn't with his ears kill another living creature. Such a thing was unheard of. After Lurleen gave us the ability to speak with all living things and gave us the meat plants for food, only the Kalidas continued their hunting. They only eat from the plants as a last resort. Thankfully, there are no Kalidas in our part of Oz. We appealed to Glinda, the good, and she helped us repel them from entering the Quadling country. What is a Kalida? Do you really want to know? Baby thought. When I am big like you, he said at last, I might go to other places in Oz. And if these Kalidas are as mean as you say, then I should know what they look like. Very good, replied Father Lion, nodding his approval. Not only does your curiosity stem from wisdom, but you exercise caution as well. Kalidas are large, fierce beasts with bodies like bears and heads like tigers. You'll meet some tigers and bears soon. They have similar respect for us as we do for them. Baby nodded as he dozed off to sleep. A large tawny lion bounded through the forest. Rabbits and squirrels bowed as he marched to a clearing. Birds sang lovely songs without words in his honor. But the clearing was empty. All noise everywhere stopped. The lion looked around and saw no other animal in sight. Night fell suddenly, but it was dark, uncomfortable night. The lion felt cold and alone. Baby awoke. It was still night. He felt someone nudging him. Run, his mother was saying. Her voice was concerned and frightened. What's going on, mother? Run, we're in danger. Where's father? A resounding thud echoed through the forest. Baby jumped to his feet. Above the two lions glowed 8 little orbs. As he looked in horror, the orbs began to descend. Something wet fell and hit him in the face. Run, shouted his mother again, and he obeyed. The little lion cub ran faster than he had ever thought he could. Behind him, he heard snarlings and snappings. A million thoughts raced through the cub's mind. Where was his father? What was that thing his mother was trying to protect him from? Would he ever see her again? Where would he go? When could he stop? Was it safe to stop ever? The cub kept moving on, but as he did, his pace began to slacken. Looking up, he saw the pale streaks of dawn appearing in the sky. Looking around, he saw he was no longer in the forest, but on the open plains. He had never been out of the forest before. Maybe it was safe to stop now. Maybe his mother would come and find him, or his father. He stopped and found some brush. He laid down and waited, looking at the forest, waiting. They would come for him. The next thing the little cub knew, it was full daylight. He'd fallen asleep. He pulled himself to his feet and wondered where he was. Then he remembered the events of the previous night. He looked around desperately. Neither his father nor his mother were anywhere in sight. Why wouldn't they have found him by now? It had to have been many hours since he left the forest. He knew they wouldn't just leave him alone. After all, he'd never learned about courage. Suddenly, a horrid, sick thought struck him. He would find animals that were weaker than we were and kill them and eat their flesh, his father had said about the old times of Oz. What if something stronger than his parents had? As he thought about it, he had a horrible feeling that that was exactly what had happened. Maybe he could go back and see. Maybe they had survived, but were hurt and couldn't come looking for him. Maybe there was a chance they were still alive, but just hadn't found him. The horrible feeling came back into the cub's mind. His stomach twisted at the thought. His parents were dead. They would not be there to take care of him anymore. He would have to do that himself. Hadn't his father taught him how to find food? That was a start. But what about other animals? What about men? His father had not been able to teach him about those. And if whatever was big enough to kill his parents, it wouldn't be afraid to come out of the forest and attack him. He had to keep moving on. Months passed as the cub wandered away from his former home. For days and days, no forest met his view. He managed to find food and stay away from the other animals, but he'd only known how to live in a forest. One day, the cub came to a river. He drank and rested beside the gently running water, enjoying the clean, sweet air. Fish swam in the river and birds flew overhead. Suddenly, the cub heard a strange sound, a high-pitched squeal. He looked and saw a hawk flying low to the ground, snatching for something in the grass. Springing up, he ran toward the hawk. As he got closer, he saw a good-sized field mouse running from the hawk. He swiped his paw at the hawk. "Leave me be, little lion," the hawk shrieked. "Leave the mouse alone," the lion replied. "There's plenty for you to eat without harming a defenseless creature." By this time, the mouse had already scampered out of sight. "Fine," the hawk puffed as it prepared to fly away. "It's gone anyway." The lion looked at his reflection in the river. The hawk had called him a little lion, and it was true. He was beginning to get larger, and the beginnings of a mane could be seen around his face. He certainly wasn't a baby anymore, and he was getting larger than cub size. He looked a lot like his father, he thought. A few days later, the lion saw a forest on the other side of the river. It looked cozy, so he leapt across the river to explore. The forest felt dry and dark compared to the home he had known back when he was a child. Still, maybe it would make a nice home once he got used to it. As the lion began looking for food plants, he heard something that made his heart stop. "Do you smell that?" asked a deep, deep, cool voice. "Fresh meat," was the reply. Turning around, the lion saw two ferocious beasts behind him. They stood on their hind legs, shaggy, dark fur covering their bodies, while a tawny, dark, orange head with a dirty white muzzle highlighted their faces, featuring 2 rows of sharp, gleaming teeth. Their eyes glinted. "Kalidas," he gasped. He remembered his father's description of them, and though he'd never seen a tiger or bear before, he knew there could be no other beast that cool in the land of Oz. The lion started and began to run forward. "Come back," the Kalidas howled and roared, chasing after him on all fours. "We haven't had a lion in a long time." Suddenly, there was a snarl in front of the lion. There was another Kalida in front of him, licking its horrible blood-stained muzzle. Quickly, the lion changed direction and kept running. There was a rise just ahead. The lion jumped and fell into a hard pathway made of yellow bricks, clawed loose and broken. A Kalida leapt down and landed beside him. The lion quickly began running down the yellow road away from the fierce monsters. Behind him, he heard loud crashes. He glanced back only for a moment. There were all 3 Kalidas rolling large boulders after him. Just ahead, the lion saw the forest was broken by a large gap, and the yellow road bridged it with a thin pathway. But the boulders were almost upon him. As he came to the edge, he stopped, crouched, and sprang right over the gap. Looking back, trying to get his breath, the lion watched as the yellow bridge broke beneath the weight of the boulders, sending it completely into the ravine below. He could hear the Kalidas roaring in disgust and dismay. Apparently, they couldn't leap as far as he could. He collapsed in relief. "What a clever lion you must be," he heard a small voice say. There beside him was a little rabbit. "Very clever," it continued. "You tricked the Kalidas into destroying their bridge into our part of the forest. Now they can't come and threaten us anymore." "I'm safe?" the lion gasped. "We're all safe, thanks to you. You must be very courageous." And with that, the rabbit hopped away. "I don't feel courageous," the lion thought. "My heart is still beating fast. All I did was run. If I were really courageous, I would have fought the Kalidas instead, wouldn't I?" The lion was welcomed and respected as a member of this forest, and he lived there for quite a while. He made a den in a shady part of the forest not far from the road of yellow bricks that had been his path to safety and a new home. Sometimes, if another animal was intruding on his home, he would roar loudly and scare them away. Other times, he did this if he suspected an animal was taking more than their share from the meat plants. But mainly, his life in the forest was happy and contented. Still, he couldn't help but think, many an evening when he'd lie alone, falling asleep, "I really wish I'd learned how to have courage." And this is just the beginning. Thank you for joining us for another story from the 2013 issue of Oziana. I'm Susan Johnson, Membership Secretary for the International Wizard of Oz Club. And we hope that you have enjoyed this story and that you will join us again for another story from Oziana, celebrating 50 years of Oziana, the publication of the International Wizard of Oz Club of original stories and poems by our members. Thank you very much.